Okay, we're going to start out by opening Notepad, however you may do that. Usually start accessories Notepad. And then once we get this open, we're going to go ahead and type in those tags that I had mentioned. So let's start with HTML. And of course, we always got to close every tag that we open. So it's easy to do that right away. So instead of waiting and typing out the whole page and when I get into the bottom then closing my HTML tag, it's easier to close a tag immediately. So you open one, you close it, and then you kind of go back and do it. That way you don't forget. And in the HTML tags case, it might not be as big a deal, but later on in a practical application, that may be something to remember. Okay. We talked about adding the head section, and I need to close that. And we can see that I added one tab in here. As I said, white space to the browser makes no difference. So this space, if I was to leave this here and not even put a title in, which I don't have to, all that white space in between there would make no difference to the browser. It wouldn't see that. It doesn't care how many lines I use. It doesn't care if I use a full page in the head section. It's not going to make any difference at all. Let's add a title. We'll tab in for that one. And then it makes it real nice to see that that's inside the head. It makes it really easy if we use tabs. Let's use the title of Techcation HTML Layout Video Tutorial for lack of something better to use. You may want to use template if you're going to use this over and save this and use it over and over as a template to show what you need to have an HTML page. Now, if we go ahead and save this, we could do that by pressing Control S or going to File, Save As, and I'm going to put this on my C drive, and we're going to save it as template, and it's going to be .html. It's really important that we include this .html and not leave it to save .text. So I'm going to switch this to all files just so it doesn't try to insert another .text behind it. So I'll save that. And then we'll go ahead and go to the C drive. We'll find that file. If we double click on it, it should open it up in a web browser. Here it is in our web browser. We can see that it opened it. It just said C template, C/template HTML. So we see the file in the address line. So we do see that it is, a local file. And because I have multi-tab, it just grabbed my old browser that was open already. But there's nothing in the page as there should be. We haven't entered anything yet. The only thing we entered was a title, which we do see up here in the very top where it says Techcation HTML Layout Video Tutorial, which is great because that's exactly what I expected to see. Now, if we go back to our HTML file, we don't have a body yet, so let's go ahead and add one. And in our body, let's put something real simple, just some text. Let's just say, hello world. If you're a programmer, that's a joke. You'll see that in like every programming book you ever see. So I might as well include it in my video just to add to the cheesy factor. So I'll save that with Control S. I'll flip back over to my Techcation browser that I had open. And we see nothing's happened. I'm going to hold down Control and press R to refresh the page. Or I could do the same by clicking on this button. So we refreshed it, here it is, and we see hello world. So our text is added just like I said. Now the one other tag that I mentioned earlier in my video, and then I kind of scrubbed it off the board and never really talked much more about it, was the break tag. If I add a break tag, that adds a return character. So I could say hello world again. So we can see what this does. I'll go back to my web browser, refresh, and we just see, we have hello world on 2 lines. Notice that there's not an extra line for my break tag. My break tag's here. If you went like this, it would say, hello world, a line for break, which is a tag, so it's interpreted and hidden, and then hello world again, but it doesn't do that. It just puts me on another line. In fact, if I go and do this again, let's just copy and paste this over here again. If I put another line saying hello world on another line by hitting enter, See what I mean? As far as it doesn't interpret white space, it sees one white space. It sees one space. And then, unless you tell it with HTML to do other spacing, like add a return carriage or something along that nature, it doesn't do it. It's automatically going to put it, bunch it all together with one space in between. In fact, this is part of why in the English language they change sentences so that from having two spaces after a period to one, because of HTML doesn't see the second space. You could type space space and it doesn't show up. So, the English actually changed the language just to fit better with HTML, which I think is great since I'm not very good at English and I'm really good at HTML. Now, if you plan on watching my next video after it comes out, which might be a little while because I just got my camera today, so I'm going to be honest here, a moment of truth. I just got my camera today, so I'm going to take a little bit more time, redo this one so it'll look better eventually as far as the video end of it, and then re-put that out on YouTube before I release the next segment. But I do have the plans. I have taught this in a college atmosphere, so I do actually know what I'm talking about. But for now, make sure you keep this temp HTML. We can use it in the future. I know it's not real complicated, but it is rather easy to come in, say save as, my first page, whatever you might want to save it as. And unfortunately in HTML you should never use spaces, so just clump everything together. Maybe use what they call the camel hump or Hungarian naming convention where you capitalize the first letter of each next word. Makes it easy. Resave it as something new. You can go out to your thing, click on your new page. Of course I didn't change it, so it's not there yet, but we could really quickly say, my page, welcome. And we save this. Of course, we'll pull up our browser, hit refresh, and it'll say welcome and thank you for watching my first video ever.